It is a journey that can begin at any time, and it has no clarified end date. But I am honored to be here before you today. So we have a few sections, just so you have an idea of what the lineup looks like today. We have a few storytellers from our community that has co-created work with us with the workshops that we have done, and we have put together stories. They worked really, really hard. So they're going to come up and they're going to do their performances. And then we have the actual solo acts performance, and then we will have a talk back at the end of that. Does that work for you all today? All right. I love it. We're keeping up with the energy. So we are also interested in doing workshops after this. So we began a few workshops before, co-creating the work. Now you're in the audience and you get to see what that work looks like. So you might say, hey, can you come to our senior living facility and put something together for us? Yes, we can. The answer is yes today. Yes, we can. So we are starting with some performers from Cranbrook Senior Living Facility. Anybody heard of Cranbrook? Raise your hand if you've heard or been by or seen. Absolutely. So you know. So we're going to go ahead and give some really good energy. And we're going to start with our first storyteller. This person is loving. She is caring. And one trait that I can say that we have in common is we can feel energy in a space very, very deeply. I would like for you to put your hands together for Regina Adams for her solo aging story.
This is my mother. Do this. Okay. 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 My mother was a strong Black woman. First of all, she loved church, and she raised us in the church. She loved us so much. She had truth about life.
You're doing great. You're doing fabulous, and there's something to help. Be safe. Oh, just you got real good.
Okay. She had truth about life. I learned so much from her. She always believed in me, and she believed in prayer and in the Bible. We always had food on the table and clothes on our back. I loved my mom a whole life, and she filled me with joy. She taught me to be a mother, and raise my babies. And she called me one day and told me I do a good job. I still have the big picture in my closet. She was a beautiful person. She would want me to get my life together. Honor your mothers. She called me and checked on me, and I missed those calls. Don't miss those calls. You never know when your last call is going to come.
Can I have another round of applause for Regina?
That took a lot of courage. And I could feel Miss Adams' soul she was bearing up here as I too lost my mother November 2nd, so just 6 months ago, and had to move back from South Carolina to take care of my 13 and 14-year-old brother and sister. So I just went from no kids to 2 teenagers. So yeah, my life is, I'm glad y'all laughing, honey, because it's either laugh or cry. That's all you can do. Thank you so much. Just one more time for Miss Adams. I just really appreciate her coming up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next to the stage, we have someone who has a dog named Rosie. Any dog lovers in the building? Okay, all right. And she is a lover of life. Let's go ahead and put our hands together for Mrs. Emily Milner.
Right up here. Can you hear me? Yeah. Where's Regina?
She's taking a moment.
Okay, thank you, Regina, for what you said. It's wonderful to have a good mother, and that was always missing from my life, I'm sorry to say. Well, when I was born, I was with my mother, of course, but she had a difficult life and not a good life. So my father's mother, my grandmother, for the most part, took over. Not good. My grandmother was, I don't even know if you'd say old-fashioned, but she wasn't nice, okay? She wasn't nice. She wasn't nice to me. And I think I still have some of the results of that in my life and so forth. Some of you know about that. So my grandmother had 2 sons, and my father was one of them. And they had wives, and she hated the wives. She didn't like any of the women, you know, unless they were her daughters. I wrote this, and she was like an ogre in my story. So I'm going to read this rest part. Years later, I went to find my mother. I went to her house with my 9-year-old son because my grandmother raised me. She kept my mother away. She didn't want her to come, and so I just never saw my mother for years. I went to her house with my 9-year-old son. I remember seeing her talking to a mailman, and when she saw me, she got rid of the mailman and went in and shut the door. This hurt me, but I thought about how she felt, and I couldn't really blame her. She had a difficult life, and the truth is, she couldn't, I mean, as much as that actually hurt me, she couldn't deal with it. She could not, I mean, it's in some ways it's not understandable, but in some ways it is, right? She has a daughter that she can't communicate with. I felt also a little mad, but I suppressed it. So what could I do? My son, who is 9, wanted to throw a rock through the window. So he said, no, can't do that. So, but I think of her as having carried trauma for years. I didn't consciously think about it, but it was still there. I don't think you ever get over it totally, but I'm still here. Thank you. Let me say again, thank you to Regina for her heartfelt thoughts.
Awesome, thank you. Let's put our hands together one more time for Ms. Milner. Perfect. Awesome. Coming to the stage next, we have someone that is a writer. She is creative. She's a reader. She loves music. To my surprise, she said rap. I said, okay. I see you. And in my opinion, she has one of the most beautiful smiles in this room. Let's please put our hands together for another Cranbrook family member, Sharon Veal.
Hi, everybody. This is a poem about, well, it's not a poem, it's a story that I wrote about the eclipse. And I found it very interesting because it was the first time I've ever seen the eclipse. So here it goes. I was never alone. I always had people at my side. As I got older, people started to go their own ways. Different directions, getting old, of course, passing. So I find myself being alone more today than I ever have been in the past. I was raised alone. Got married, had 2 kids. People say as I got older, I was headed for my golden years. I don't see any gold. When I was in high school, when I was in high school in the elementary school, we went to the observatory and we seen all the stars and the moon. That was cool. Always been a fan of the stars. When I saw the eclipse, it's dark outside, covering the sun, and it's only 3 in the afternoon. The man in the moon, he does exist. I see him looking out the window at Mom's. They're all out there looking up at the eclipse too, and it's dark. I look outside, I see myself, and I look outside, I see myself, and it's covered, only showing a sliver. The man in the moon, he covers the sun, but I have glasses, the color orange. The glasses tell me so much how big the world is. How small it is too. Clouds, stars, moons, rain, lakes, showers, and clean cars too. All these things that I'm able to see. Glasses come in so many sizes and shapes. Contacts if you can afford them. I lost my new glasses, so I'm looking out these older ones. I bump into things because my eyes have changed so much. My focus is terrible, but some of my glasses are better than none, with the help of, where is he? My focus is terrible, but the glasses are better than none. Maybe I'll keep my sunglasses for when I go to the beach next time. That's it.
All right, let's give it up for one more time. Thank you, Mrs. Veal. All right, moving the show right along. You all are doing great. So coming to the stage next, this is also a Cranbrook family member. This person did a vision quest, okay? And Her name is Iggy Patterson, but her native name, how we're going to introduce her today, is Three Pony Woman. I had to say it like that. Let's put our hands together.
I didn't want the music started right away. Thank you. And I'm going to ask that everybody is silent so I can focus. Thank you. Maestro, I can't hold it. I got it.
Gotcha, okay.
Maestro. Thank you. I sit in the middle of a sacred space, in the middle of 400 protective prayer time, in the middle of a vast barren land, in the middle of Standing Rock Reservation, the home of the Lakota in the Dakota Sioux Nation. I am seeking permission. Sometime later, across a gully, 1, 2, 3 pony walk a straight line, turn and face me. Or I say, welcome. Sometime later, my heart sings, I love 1, 2, 3 pony. Sometime later, too soon, I say, bewitched 1, 2, 3 ponies for joining us in our vision seeking. Sometime later, too soon, 1, 2, 3 pony, turn, walk a straight line away. Sometime later, I say, Bodacious Bob, our vision quest guide, I saw 1, 2, 3 pony in a vast barren land. Sometime soon, Bodacious Bob, our vision quest guide, says, no way, 1, 2, 3 pony cannot graze in a vast barren land. I plead, I saw 1, 2, 3 pony in a vast barren land. Sometime later, I am driving. A voice out of nowhere and somewhere said, 1, 2, 3 pony, that is your vision. I say, 1, 2, 3 pony vision? Wow, that is awesome. Sometime too soon, I say, 1, 2, 3 pony vision? What does that mean? Sometime later, this intuition said, maybe 1, 2, 3 pony vision means that. Sometime later, that intuition said, maybe 1, 2, 3 pony vision means this. I say, sometime later, I am sitting in a sacred space. My soul whispered, maybe 1, 2, 3 pony means awe and hope. Sometime later, I stand strong and humble. I claim a name I earned in a vision quest. My name is 3 Pony Woman. Hope. I I don't like stairs. Oh, I did it.
All right, let's give it up for the three-pony woman one more time. Awesome. And we are going to have one more storyteller before we get to our main performance. This storyteller is from All Seasons Senior Living Facility. Anybody been to All Seasons? Yes, I went. It is a beautiful place. I got to go on my own. It was really nice. So this person is excited to be here. So she's going to need all the energy in the room when she comes up here. She's very thankful. She has enormous gratitude. And the thing that I love the most about her is that she has lived life with absolutely no regrets, because that's me all day. Let's put our hands together for Mrs. Anna York.
Good morning. First thing I want to say is that I am intensely proud of being in this company of amazing women. Yes. And I'm incredibly thankful for so many people coming out to look at this extremely important issue for us and for our whole world. My name's Anna York, and I'm 78 years old. Almost 60 years ago, I had my first attack of multiple sclerosis. It felt like a lightning bolt striking down through my entire body and leaving me weak and trembling. I was hospitalized, and I had to leave college for several months to recover. That event was undiagnosed at the time, and I didn't know for a couple more decades what had happened to me. At age 37, when I had 4 kids, 3 of them under age 6, I was struck by more lightning bolts that threw me down the stairs and landed me in the emergency room. Within 3 days, I was largely paralyzed from the neck down, unable to feed myself, go to the bathroom on my own, or do any of the functions of normal life. Spasms racked my body with electric shocks, and my skin felt like it was on fire. I was transferred to a nursing home, with some doctors wondering if I would ever come out again. I was an object of astonishment, pity, and dismay to my family, my friends, everyone I knew. I didn't even know myself. My children were sent off to stay with my parents, and I honestly didn't know if I would ever see them again. My bed in the nursing home was cold, empty, and lonely. This was the beginning of a lifelong journey with an unpredictable, devastating disease. My husband cared for me and for the family, and also held down a full-time, demanding job. Over a period of years, I became acquainted with wheelchairs, electric scooters, canes, walkers, braces, hospital stays, drugs, injections, infusions, and worst of all, helplessness in caring for my family. There was no cure for this disease, and there still isn't. But there are some amazing drugs that change the course of the disease. The thing that I kept secret from everyone was the loneliness I felt. Even though my husband did not divorce me, as often happens in these cases, even though I was right there in the midst of my family, my terrible secret was that I was exceedingly lonely, alienated from family activities, social events, cut off from community, because I no longer even knew who I was. My condition deteriorated to the point that my pastor came to help prepare me to die. My friends thought I would die. I thought I would die. But I'm here to tell you I did not die. An extraordinary thing happened to me that changed my life forever. And you know, if it could change my life, I have this feeling it could change many other lives as well. So up to this time, I had only been treated by Western medicine, but it wasn't working. I was not getting better, I was getting worse. So 2 of my sons, God bless them, took me to Tai Chi class. And even though I could only do a little bit to start with, my body began to come to life again, and energy began to flow through me. I had a Tai Chi master who did extraordinary things with body work for me. It took about 14 years working with my Tai Chi master, and my friends in the Tai Chi class introduced me to all kinds of alternative healing modalities. There was acupuncture, Chinese dietary practices, Thai massage, moxa, meditation, body work, sound healing, and much more, even Sufi healing. And at the age of 77, I started studying Kundalini. I not only survived, but I thrived. I found a new community, a new way of living, and I've had no drugs for multiple sclerosis since 1998, more than 25 years. I worked with my Tai Chi master, and he eventually certified me to teach Tai Chi and Qigong. I received 3 more certifications from my Qigong master, and I became a Tai Chi Qigong teacher, specializing in working with seniors and the disabled. I created many innovative adaptations for seated and standing exercise, and even for lying down. I did workshops for doctors, nurses, community organizations, therapists, and spread the good news that there is a wide variety of ways to approach healing. And I'm now the caregiver for my husband who cared for me. Here's what I want to say. Everyone here will at some time be disabled. Not just when you age, it could happen at any time. Disability is the arrow in the heart of our golden years. And disability brings loneliness with it. Western medicine does amazing things, And I use it all the time. But it doesn't meet all of our needs as we age. It didn't for me. So I just want to encourage all of you to open your opportunities, your ideas, expand your awareness, expand your hopes, your dreams, and expect for a miracle to happen of the variety that people and others can come in and create a new world. I urge everyone to organize and encourage a great variety of alternative modalities and build a future that you can live in. And then we'll all have a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Anna York. That was beautiful. Thank you. Now I would like to bring to the stage my mentor and the founder of Limelight, Decky Alexander, but I also wanted to just give her a small token. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and she was my teacher in many, many, many forms at Eastern Michigan University and in my personal life. So happy Teacher Appreciation and welcome to the stage. I'll hang on to it for you.
You know, because she knows I'm going to lose it in about 2 seconds. Oh, Britt, I love you. So a lot of my students, former students are here. Hi, everybody. My name is Decky Alexander, and we are so great. Hi, Felicia. We are so grateful that you are here today. We have a lot of elected officials here. You're going to get to hear from one in just a minute. This journey for Solo Acts coming to Ann Arbor has been a long time coming. We had several people who saw it last year as we remounted it in Ypsilanti at Eastern, and they're saying, you know where you need to do it here. You know what you need to do? You need to come out to the community, and you also need to help cultivate stories to share here. So we are so grateful to the storytellers, to Linda, whose idea it was to have such storytelling exercises, to all our storytellers, to all our caregivers and care friends and colleagues to come here today. Here's what this is. This is theater that generates reflection in conversation. So what we're going to do in a minute, if you see something in the theater piece, we want you to write it down. We want you to, if there's something that challenges you, affirms something for you, or illuminates, write it down. We're going to come back after the show and come back to you with our panel and conversation with several elected officials and solo agers. I want to thank two entities really quickly. I want to thank a lot of my Limelight team. I want to thank Olivia. I want to thank Maggie. I want to thank Tyler Calhoun all the way from Chicago, who a lot of us know who coordinated a lot of this. And I want to thank the Ann Arbor District Library, who has been an unbelievable partner with Katie and another Tyler and Alicia. We are so grateful for your support. Thank you so much. All right, so let's give it up. What a joy. All right, and now I want to introduce somebody who really doesn't need no introduction, but is somebody for myself, I think who practices presence in theater. There is somebody no more present in this community than our Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, and she is going to open our show tonight.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank Decky, who is a wonderful friend to all of us and is so involved in the community in so many different ways. And I love what she does every single day. And Decky, you give and give and give and give. And you're even my mentor and teacher. So I love you for doing that. So Decky, we love you. Thank you. So, because Decky's my friend, she was like, you really have to come to this. You really got to do this. And because Decky told me that, she put on this program at Eastern has it been a year now? It's been about a year ago. And I said to the staff, I don't care what I have to go to this. I have to go for Decky. And she wanted me to speak, but I'd never seen the program. Honestly, I didn't know what the hell she was doing. And I got there. I don't think you even told me I had to speak till I got there. She said, and she got up and told me to talk about aging. So I got up and talked from my heart. And that's what I'm going to do today for a minute. And by the way, what I said was so reflected in what you're about to see, and started dialogue that was so important. I said to Decky, you just can't just be here. This is what's happening in communities across the country. I was a caretaker to a man that I loved with my whole heart and my whole soul. And I was luckier than 99 and 9/10 of the people in this country. I know it. And yet, I experienced a broken system that was almost impossible to navigate. There were days that I would just pound my head against the wall and just, who's paying for it? He had Medicare, we had insurance, everybody kept pointing the fingers at everybody. You couldn't get a live human being to answer a telephone. You couldn't find how were you going to get the help that you needed. And then, you know, my husband was the most wonderful man in the world. His brain was there until the day he died. Actually, he dictated an op-ed to me the day he died. And Twittered to the day he died. I tried to get him not to do some of those Twitters, but he didn't listen a lot. But this was an athletic, outdoor, this was a hunter, fisherman, ran everyday man who had difficulty getting around. So and at first, you know, I just wanted someone there during the day for a little in case he needed something. And by the end, what if he fell? And I couldn't, by the way, when he did fall, I couldn't pick him up. And then I had somebody else trying to, and I'd have to call the fire department. And he was stubborn. You know, he fell once and had blood cut. Actually, the fire department became, I knew the fire. I ate dinner a lot with the guys, and the president of the firefighters was a good friend. And John fell, didn't want to, somebody was staying with him. He locked himself in the bathroom, refused to go, didn't want anyone to see him with blood on his T-shirt. He was proud, very proud. And he had a head injury and needed stitches. You know, it's hard, especially when you've been proud and independent your whole life. And try finding caregivers that you can trust. All other work is possible when those you love are taken care of. And we don't pay caregivers enough. I mean, I'm lucky. I have a woman now who's still part of my family, but when I was I couldn't leave him alone at the end when I was in Washington, and in the last few weeks, I couldn't. I needed someone else. The last couple of weeks, I needed someone else, even when I was there, because I had. He was very proud, very stubborn, very independent. He went into that bathroom every time. Nobody was going to do anything, but he was going to do it. Try finding caregiving. And you get scared. This is the man you love. You don't care. You're going to do whatever it costs. But we can't even find the caregivers now. And some of them, when I go through an agency, you would have caregivers that were working 3 jobs and still living below the poverty line. It's a problem. So this has become a passion. But I also think about myself. I have family, and I'm lucky I've got a sister that I love, and I've got nieces and nephews. But the reality is, I am alone. And you sometimes wonder, what's going to happen? Will I have enough money when I get to take care of myself? If I get sick in the middle of the night, what am I going to do? I was hospitalized 2 weeks ago with an ulcer again. I took an Uber to the hospital, I went to the doctor who said you immediately need to go, and he wanted an ambulance, and I was like, forget it, and I Ubered. I'm not going. I wasn't going to go in an ambulance. I Ubered. But sometimes you get scared. Like when I want to stay active and engaged, I don't want to overstay too long, but I got a lot of life in me, a lot of shit to still get done. And you know what? I'm seasoned. I got some wisdom. I am never old is a state of mind. But you do wonder, will there be enough money? What if some emergency happens? Will there be anybody there? When you have some really hard times and you get scared, and trust me, in this job, who can you even talk to? You just want to cry in the middle of the night, and nobody knows how you feel. All of us are feeling that. So being seasoned, and as you face what's going to, and I hope we're all going to live to exceed 100. I love my Rosies. I go to more 100th birthdays with the Rosies. And you know why I think there's so many turning 100? Because they've got lots of fight, guts, and spirit in them. And that's what we want, but we want to have a quality of life. So I hope this play that you're about to see, it's what I said to Decky. A lot of us have fears. A lot of us get scared. There are a lot of issues. We need to talk about it because we're afraid to talk about it. We should acknowledge it. We need to be community. Families are, yes, the ones that you may not have chosen, but families are also your friends, your community. People are there for each other. I feel lucky to live in this community. There are really good people. And Decky's part of my family. And I hope that what you're going to see today will let you really talk about some issues that are inside our hearts and souls. Some of them are rewarding. And some of us are just really scared and anxious. And we shouldn't hide it. We should talk about it. Thank you, Decky.
Thank you to Congresswoman Dingell. Thank you so much. Talk about courage. We're so grateful. All right, we're going to get this on here. We're going to get the show started, Solo Acts. It is based on conversations and interviews, both in Michigan and New York, over a couple-year period. We had conversations here, and that informed. So if you saw an early version that I know Monica did 2 years ago at the Ypsi Senior Center, it is quite different because we got a lot of feedback, and we said, my voice is not in here. So here are some voices and some stories. Let's go, Ann Arbor. Solo Acts, a theatrical compilation on solo aging. Here we go.
We all want to be connected to people.
Nobody really wants to age by themselves.
But then there are those who want to be by themselves.
To age, live, and love.
Alone. Oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh my. Oh me, oh my. Frozen in time. Oh me, oh my. Feel the deck grip, feel wrapped around your bed, your right eye.
Broadly speaking, we are
65 years and older.
Live alone.
Not having any family within a 5-hour drive or
Spouses, siblings, second cousins, once removed.
twice removed.
Have no kids, grandkids, or
Exes.
from Texas.
Unrequited love or
Someone to rub all those aches and aging pains.
have no paid caregivers.
People whose job it is to make sure
that I wake up,
Get myself out of bed.
out of this house,
This chair.
this neighborhood,
walk,
Wander.
go to the doctor.
Market.
or my friend Mary's house.
On Mondays.
Because that's when we meet.
Mondays, Marys, and margaritas.
But if I want to go,
I'll have to get there.
Myself. Specifically speaking,
We are from different spaces.
places.
Buffalo,
Detroit,
Syracuse.
Ypsilanti.
of distinctive races.
cultures,
Communities.
Classes.
Experiences.
That will, hopefully,
collectively.
Represent.
This growing population.
The largest in the world.
I like that term. Elder orphan.
the preferred language is solo agers.
Well, I think there is some truth to being an elder orphan. There may be stages in your life as you grow older where you feel like an orphan.
Look, I lived in a senior building, and sometimes you don't even know anybody's in there. Nobody's coming or going. They're just not interacting with anybody.
Well, I like the word aging. It holds promise and dignity, and those are both things you should be able to hold on to as you solo age.
I woke up to the morning sky first.
You know,
Everybody's
On their own.
At some time.
so my husband passed suddenly when I was out of town. I never thought that I would be in a situation where I was homeless. I didn't have an income. The house that we lived in, my father-in-law owned it. The house went in foreclosure, so I had to come out of the house, and I didn't know where I was.
going. Yeah, see, I'm originally from Savannah, Georgia. Now, I'm 67 years old. Been retired about 6 years. Now, I ain't got no family around here, so the people I interact with come from the senior programs I go to a couple times a week. Now, I worked for over 40 years as a machine, tools, and die maker. Then the factory started shutting down, but you know me, I'm kind of like a mercenary. See, me and my family, we split back in '84. I hear about a job paying 50 cents more an hour in another state, I just up and leave. I was a wanderer. You know, my choice. Lived out of a lot of suitcases in the hotels. Me and my family just separated. Still sorry for that 40 years later. I just didn't put no roots down.
Nowhere and everywhere. And I had stayed in so many different places. And the last places that I lived, now it was just horrible because there was so much strife and contention. And I ended up being a caregiver for the grandmother. I got skills. I mean, I applied for jobs and I couldn't, and I could not get a job. I'm like, okay, God, why am I?
Here? Well, I have 2 boys, both out of town and both very successful. One in Boston and one in Atlanta. And I realize as they become more involved in their own families that they come home less. Rightly so, but as a parent, you try to instill that sense of independence, which they have, and you try to teach them to fly, and they do. It's harder than I thought it would be. When you've been married for so long, and for us, it was 47 years. Well, that's just a big chunk of your lifetime. And when your marriage is as happy as ours was, well, it feels like a part of you is missing. But it's something all spouses, partners must endure. You know, one will stay and the other will.
Leave here? Now, even though my kids were born and raised here, they all moved to California. I mean, for various reasons, whether it be the sun, the surfing, or those wildfires.
Only you can prevent forest fire.
The problem is, it is so expensive to live in California. I mean, those taxes? Oh. The amount of money that I can count on for retirement allows me to live comfortably here. But I would not be comfortable at all in California. Well, I mean, to be honest, I really can't stand the thought of not being independent. And, well, being dependent of feeling like their child. That's not their job. I don't want them subsidizing my life for a
Long time ago, I found out about the Capuchin Soup Kitchen, where you can get a food box. I told them, I said, you know, having living in so many different places, I just really need a place of my own. So I moved into this apartment, and it was really nice to just to be. And when I turned 60, I was able to apply for widow's benefits through Social Security. So now I had an income coming in. And then they told me about this place. So I came over here. I just had my bed, 2 dressers, some clothes and personal stuff, and this chair.
Grandma's hands clapped in church on Sunday morning. Grandma's hands played the tambourine so well. Grandma's hands used to issue out a warning. She said, Gregory, don't you run so fast. Might fall on a piece of glass. Might be snakes there in that grass. Grandma's hands.
In case of an emergency.
I think it's in my chest.
Who would you ask physically?
Emotionally, even.
Trouble breathing.
To make a decision to do X.
Y. And Z.
Medically speaking, who would do that for you? Be your...
Breath. Breathe. Right now, I don't really know. Last time I went to the hospital, I was sick. And I was still able to call 911. And I was on the front porch. I was waiting on them. When I finally saw them, they was down the street. So I started walking down the street. I had pneumonia.
Walking pneumonia.
I couldn't catch my breath. Like I'd overexerted myself. That time I went to the hospital. I was there for about 4 days. They took my blood pressure and they said,
You feel okay?
I said, yeah.
All right, you just sit down here, sir.
We're gonna take your blood pressure again.
So they took it again, and then they said,
I think we're gonna keep you here.
Overnight.
So I got a bed, and I was in the hospital, and they agreed to do
Surgery.
And I okayed it. Got me a new heart valve. By his grace, I'm still here.
Now, in case that valve stops pumping,
your lungs stop singing.
Is there someone?
Anyone, a neighbor.
That can make a decision between life and...
God got me.
Moment I wake up, before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. And while combing my hair now, and wondering what dress to wear now, I say a little prayer for you. Forever and forever, you stay in my heart and I.
No, it's 2 for 20.
When I told her, I am voting for Deputy Dingle. That's my girl. I like it.
I remember the first time that I went to a restaurant, alone. Stared out at the sea of couples. There wasn't just one eater, not one diner, one patron. Everyone was a duet. There was not a solo act around. I thought, is this what it's going to be like? Being an only in a world of duos? After my marriage, I didn't expect to be alone. Night after night, just not having somebody to eat with or watch TV with or run something by. I never thought about being out here, on my own.
So I live in a co-op. It's a 2-story townhouse that I don't intend to age in. And it's one of 97 units. And I have this neighbor, George, who I would bring food and stuff to when the senior organizations would be giving stuff out. Now, I would always contact him, ask him about his day and if he needed anything. And to make a long story short, I found him dead in his house. Now, he'd been that way for 3 weeks and nobody knew.
Look, I just wish there was some sort of handbook, a guide that says, okay, Lucille, if you're gonna go out to a restaurant for the first time by yourself, even if it's just like for a tuna sandwich on that really delicious rye bread with the pickles and a side of chips, you should ask for a table by the window. And that way, if you feel all of their eyes are on you, you just look out. You see the world as it is.
After I found George, I went to the co-op board meeting and I said, now I realize this isn't a senior dwelling, but it would be nice if neighbors would sort of check in on the older adults because we have plenty who live in these units. And the next thing I knew, somebody picked up the mantle and formed a buddy system. Basically, everyone has at least one person who checks up on them.
As a solo ager, you think about getting up in the morning.
And making your bed. Mm-hmm. I've been making my bed by myself since I was 6 years old. Now, I still remember how to do it in my mind, but my body likes to forget how to move. And don't get me wrong. Sometimes, though, I don't want to be bothered. What if the feud is on?
Did you see the one where they asked, name a food a dog loves as much as a human? The man said tofu.
Oh.
Who is out there just eating tofu?
Nobody. There are times I do want to be alone. I just don't want to be lonely.
Life can change in an instant. One heart beat. The landscape of before is completely different from after. My mother died of a heart attack 40 years ago. My husband got the diagnosis of cancer 15 years ago. We did not know it would kill him only 6 weeks later. After each of these earthquakes in my life, I looked back at seemingly important difficulties during before in amazement. After, everything had changed. How to come out of the dark on our own, start to bring light into our lives. I started looking for small things, ways to proceed in spite of all that was unknown, all that felt broken.
A cleaning out of a closet.
I put a little lipstick on.
I like going outside and going to the gym.
Listening to music.
A morning prayer.
Oh, a virtual dinner party.
Texting pictures from an outdoor walk.
The occasional, hey, how's it going? How are you, Clarice? Phone call, you know.
Or just listening to my breath, to me breathing. I'm okay. During the pandemic and even after, it's hard not to see social isolation as boulders we might need to learn to live with for an indefinite period of time. But we also need to figure out how to move these rocks out of our way. I started small. Consider chairs in your home and try sitting in one you rarely use. See a whole new view.
I have a bird feeder?
Why would I put honey on that?
Oh, warbler.
Ooh, that needs dusted.
Is that asbestos?
Last week, I shifted my wall art. Instead of seeing a bridge, I now gaze on a mirrored image of fruit and flowers. I've even moved around to eat at different chairs in my dining room, my own Mad Hatter's tea party. In one chair, I'm facing a scene in Venice, bought a lifetime ago by my father. On another chair, I'm facing the photograph of a dramatic sunrise taken by my husband. Even though both of them died over a decade ago, sitting and dining from different chairs, I saw more, saw them, felt more. Maybe your physical space is small.
Your world quiet.
Your friends far away and gone.
Your children out of state.
You're retired.
Waiting. Just waiting.
In this solo life, see time like a kaleidoscope. A few twists, and you can transform your home, your world, and see it anew.
Things have changed, rearranged. Everything is new. Spirits high, all blue sky.
When you see me walking, I'm building me a home. When you see me walking, I'm building me a home. During the height of the pandemic, I was so worried about other people's care systems that I realized I was the one without a good care system. My house was falling. Everybody else had friends,
neighbors,
religious leaders,
family,
delivery people.
See, most people when they buying or building a house, they think about the end result. They talk about, oh, well, what pictures I'm gonna put on the walls or what wood I'm gonna use to build the door frame. But see, us old heads, we know it's about where you build the house. See, even before you get to the bones of the structure, you gotta look at what's around it to help it survive, to help it live.
A support network.
Consists of people that we can rely on to provide us support in different ways.
And who we may provide support to as well. This could include
friends,
neighbors,
religious leaders,
a hairstylist,
Not these days.
a manicurist,
I am due for a buff.
or
An organization.
Like, do you ever just need food? Jewish Family Health will bring you a box of food.
you just fill out a form and you might not get exactly what you want, but you get what you need.
Canopy of Neighbors. We're younger seniors helping older seniors.
We'll call and say, have you been to the doctor this week?
It ain't always about life or death, food or doctors. Sometimes I just want some company. I like being around folk. Now look, I done got older and I done accepted that fact. And I get by. But there are these days when it feels like my walls are starting to shake.
Friends.
Neighbors.
Religious leaders.
Family.
Delivery people.
A support
network.
Yeah, I could use that.
Some things you just don't have, well, really control of. I mean, the only thing I really have control of is how I react to what's going on around me. I mean, when I moved here, there was a
bus stop
right at the corner. And I could walk right to the
corner
and get on the bus and go downtown and, well, really go wherever I wanted. But then they changed the bus stop. So now to get to the bus, I gotta walk down a
long hill
to the
next corner.
And then I gotta walk up another
long hill.
I can hardly breathe. It takes me a long time. Now, I don't do a lot of traveling. Well, I don't even go to a lot of places because it's just that hard for me. But I mean, all I could do is react. I mean, I can't change the bus line. So when I couldn't get a cab to get to the clinic, I started calling United Health. Well, I called the
managed care.
Well, I called my therapist, and I called
senior care.
You know, that place for abused elders. Well, I called just about anybody I could think of, because I'm not gonna sit up in my house and die just because I couldn't get to the
hospital
or up a
hill.
Every 2 weeks, I go to the heart failure clinic. I take Lasix every day. Now that takes out the magnesium and the potassium in my body. And I need that to keep
balance.
I mean, I could have a stroke or a
heart attack.
Or whatever without it. Now, I try to go every 2 weeks, but do you know that I have been on the phone for as long as
3 days?
Just trying to get a ride to the clinic? Now, I pretty much keep all of my appointments. Well, I have a cardiologist and
a pulmonologist
and a
rheumatologist.
Well, I do see a foot doctor. And I have my
therapist.
And I was doing
physical therapy.
I'm trying to get into
cardiac physical therapy.
Oh, well, I did have a DNR. Well, that was until someone told me that DNR meant do not resuscitate. What? Just let me lay there and die? I don't want that. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want any extenuating or unnecessary services long term, but I don't want to just go out like that. Oh,
she stopped breathing.
Oh, just
let her die.
No, I'm not having that. Is the bus here yet?
me see here. I had 13 foster kids in the Bronx. I raised 6 children of my own. Last time we all got together was for my 70th birthday. We took a cruise. It was like 39 of us on that boat. I even had some great-grandkids on the boat. And my aunt, who's like 20 years older than me. No, she's not my aunt. That's my cousin, 20 years older than me. Yeah, me and her, we the 2 oldest in the family. I have 2 sisters. No, I don't have 2 sisters anymore. I lost one in adulthood. Well, she died just before my birthday. Well, I had a brother. I lost him when he was a baby. Some of my grandkids and even one of my own kids is indulging in substance abuse. So these people I tend to stay away from. I'm an ex-heroin addict, so I did everything. So I just choose not to keep them in my circumference because I don't do what they do. But this one, my daughter, oh, she is an inspiration. She took me to Mexico. She took me to Cozumel. I flew in a helicopter. I did the zip line. It's been a long time since I got to see her. Well, since I got to see anybody. See, I'm HIV positive, and during the pandemic, I developed a heart failure, so don't nobody come around anymore. I still remember them for who they are. Pictures help. Oh, I have a little dog. Keeps me good company. Got my puppy, my pictures, and my affirmations. I know you gotta go, but let me show you a couple. I keep them on my refrigerator.
Worrying won't stop the bad stuff from happening.
It just keeps you from enjoying the good.
You wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you.
If you realized how seldom they do.
You have already survived 100% of your worst days.
Baby, you are doing great.
Just when the caterpillar thought the world was over.
It became a butterfly.
Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun. I say it's all right. It's all right. Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun. I say it's all right. It's all right. Little darling, it's been a long.
The doctor will be in to see you shortly.
Look, as a solo ager, let's say I have to get like a colonoscopy. And they want somebody to be there with you the whole time. And this proves a little difficult for somebody like me because I don't have that. I don't have somebody to be there. But I learned how to game the system. See, doctor says, somebody gonna be with you? And I say, absolutely, somebody is going to be here. And then I get there and they say, where's your somebody? And I just look out into the waiting room. I just point to somebody I don't even know. Wait, not you. Them. And they believe me, and we just keep going about our day.
Okay, so I'm someone who's had a good health history. So when I go to a medical setting, I probably know why I'm there. I've been proactive about my aging. I know that your feet are really important, and your spine is really important. You know, because I worked in orthotics, you know, building things for people who are having issues, and like, well, once the spine, I mean, if you're not supporting the spine, oh my gosh, well, and it all starts with your feet.
Now, one of my doctors was trying to get me to take statins, and I said, I'm not taking them. Even when the doctor realized my cholesterol is fine, well, why don't you take them anyway? Why? Well, one of my former pastors was on a statin, and the statins, they change the enzymes in your liver, but they say protect is supposed to be, I don't know, protection for your heart. Well, I just said, I don't want to add on anything else because I trust Jesus and I got enough issues going on elsewhere. So I said, I'm not taking your lipid. I'm not.
And then, when the procedure is over, the aide rolls you out to the parking lot so that your somebody can drive you home. But I already told you I do not have a somebody. But the last time, the aide saw somebody that she knew, and so she went over and started chatting. So I just got in a cab and told him where I lived. I mean, what's she gonna say? I don't know where she went. I lost her?
Everything else rests on the spine. All the organs and that stuff on the musculature and the skeletal and the muscular. But I would say that and well, I want to come to a physician more often, but to tell them what I need. I want to be able to buy orthotics, and I want to be able to buy really good padded sneakers. Well, that's what I want. Well, need.
This doctor looked me in my face and said, do your research. Yeah? Well, I did my research, and I stuck to my guns. I'm not taking it. It's just, God forbid something does happen, Lord, pull me on through. But I'm not taking that step.
What? I don't want pills. No, thank you. I have the vitamins that I find serve me. You know what? I just want medicine to be more.
Look,
I know what I need.
Listen to me.
So where do you see yourself in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Look, I like the concept, the model of co-housing. If you don't know anything about it, it's basically multi-generational, but in our case, it would just be seniors, like playing a little canasta, maybe a little bingo. There's an independent house on a plot of land. And there's a community house, so maybe you might share some meals or, I don't know, have help in the garden. Like, if my driving becomes retired, I can have somebody take me to the doctor, that sort of thing. Now, I know some solo agers who are like, I'm staying in this house till I die. And I'm like, well, it's falling apart. That's your business. But my transition, I'm getting out of this townhouse and into a single story, but it's not going to be small. It's going to be like 1,500 square feet. That's my dream.
Now, I've always known this. I always knew that I would live in another country. And I always knew that I would be old. I would be one of those old ladies, the only old lady left. So why not live? I have dual citizenship. I have an EU passport. One more time. So that I could live and work in another country. Oh, I look at which countries really are respecting aging, like Finland and Sweden. They want us to live with dignity there and to continue to be a vibrant part of their communities. And I think that's what keeps you alive, actually, is to, being part of something. So maybe I'm not done aging yet. Maybe I'll move.
I was in a senior building. Stayed there for about 5 years. But then they got new management. Atmosphere changed too much. So I made the abrupt decision to move, which was actually a bad decision on my part because my rent doubled and I had to find another senior building. Didn't like it over there. Too many rules, regulations. Bad move on my part. I had a garden, 3 or 4 years. Containers, it's nice. So this new management tells me, you can't do that. In this life, all I want to do is grow me some tomatoes.
Just because I can see the horizon doesn't mean I don't want a little sunshine, a little warmth. Putting some bread in the oven, a little afternoon delight.
Oh my goodness.
See, I've been around for a long time, and, well, I've had partners. Now I have a rule that I don't let men in through that door because I can't get them out of here.
Amen.
See, I would love some love, but leave the key. I just want someone to compliment my life, watch Jeopardy, listen to the rain, and, well, just move through the world with me.
Well, I'm tired of sitting at home, so I'm thinking of taking some online classes. I've always wanted to be a social worker. I'm interested in continuing my education, and I'm also interested in readjusting my mental health. I'm in the midst of a metamorphosis. I'm evolving, but I don't know what I'm evolving to. I'm changing, and I'm okay with changing because the world is changing, and I have to move. I have to move with this world, but I have to find a way to do it that's acceptable and peaceful in me. I have to find a way to move that allows me to hold on to my peace of mind, my serenity, and my humility.
Where do you see yourself in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Moving. Living.
Loving.
Growing.
Purging.
Evolving.
You're going out? Good job again. All right, all right, all right.
Water.
I'm a better woman than I have been, 'cause I don't think about way back when. It takes two to love, but only one to leave. It was you who did that dirty deed.
Right, but we can, put the stools here. We're going to start right away. Right. Yeah. Oh, thank you. So we're a little bit behind, so we want to get our panel up here, but we're going to take about 5 minutes really quickly. So we're going to get our panel up here. Panel, do you want stools or chairs? Stools, chairs. Gwen probably wants a chair. Gwen wants a chair, yep. All right, hi, thank you so much, amazing audience, thank you. We have State Representative Braybeck in the house. I want to thank you for coming so much. County Commissioner Justin Hodge is here. State Rep Jason Morgan is here, and all the celebrities, they all knew you were coming today. All right? That's what it was. They said Gwen is coming, and Jason's like, I need to see Gwen. That's what it is, right? That's what it is. And we have Chris Lemon at the Ann Arbor Community Foundation to answer some questions. But what we want to do for you, with our actors here, performers, we want to take a couple questions as the panel's getting ready. If you have some questions for us about the theater piece, about anything that you had questions about the process, we'd love to answer that. Yes.
I want to know, how do you sign up for this theater? Because I love this.
Okay, well, now I know. That's all you need to do. Bye, honey. My husband is living. Okay. Well, other questions? We're going to get to your questions. We really want the theater in our panel, our illustrious panel, to answer questions, but we know you might have some questions about the theater process itself and how it came into being, or anything for the actors that you want to ask as we're transitioning. Does anyone have some questions? All right, we're going to do it. Nothing? Okay. Oh, yes, yes. Will you come to Florida? Will we come to Florida? Yes, we will come to Florida. Yes. Are we staying with you? Okay.
Take a winter month, please.
Okay, yes.
Please.
We are, yes, Rep right back. Felicia. Actors. We're going to do that question as we're getting the panel. Yep. And let's take this one question. Go ahead. Here, most moving for you?
Most moving in the play?
Yeah. Or just in general? Or process.
Oh, the process? Honestly, it was doing the interviews with the solo agers. The woman who the Tree of Life piece is based on, I got to do that interview, and it was like a good 3 hours, and she just shared her soul so openly with me. It felt like I was talking to my own grandmother, and it was just really nice.
Yeah, I agree. I was also on the interview team, and the biggest takeaway for me was that people just need people to listen to them, like to share their stories and to hear their voice. So that was very touching for me. It's just that they were able to share those stories, or they felt so comfortable and open to share those stories. And then also that community is what you make it. You can choose your family.
As for me, I would actually also agree. I was also on the interviewing team, and so watching the stories come to life, hearing them in that first person is a game changer. So it was the ability to actually listen to the multitude of different stories from the actual people and actually understand how varying and how similar all of these stories actually are. And that impact is still affecting me right now. I'm about to cry.
I had come onto this process a little later than the rest of the cast, and one thing, so I wasn't part of the interviews. And one thing that line, the part where I'm talking about going into a restaurant alone, I just remember that whole paragraph weighing in that moment. And my mom is here. She lives in Florida, and I invited her. And it does, it gives me a completely different understanding and perspective of what that life might look like as well.
Okay, we'll take one more question, and then we're going to do the panel, and we can have other questions afterwards. Yeah, Linda. Joyce, oh my God.
That's okay. First of all, I want to say this was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. And someone mentioned that this change from when you did it before. What were some of the changes you made this time?
I'm going to answer the question is what were some of the changes, and then we're going to go to our illustrious panel. So we performed this in Buffalo, New York, and we had packed houses. Predominantly, we're working with Sharon Kramer, our creative collaborator, and a person got up and said, I don't see myself, and said, I walk into a restaurant alone, and I don't know where to go. It was that moment there. So there was a couple moments where we would get direct feedback, and then we realized there were voices, among others, that were just not in this piece. That we, even though we had a large a swath of interviewees and it inspired the work, we had voices missing. So we wanted to give voice to people who didn't know how to belong in the public space. We also wanted to have a piece a little bit more directly about the relationship between medicine and the navigation of individuals who are solo agers, and we kind of reworked that piece. And then the last piece was support systems, right, Hannah? And then that particular piece is that we just didn't hit it correctly. You know, we wrote this in COVID online. We did the interviews virtually. It was maddening. And so we had a piece that was dated, that didn't reflect where we were. It's to reflect isolation. So we kind of wanted to talk about support systems and the idea, if you heard Jonathan's line, and he says, sometimes you have to know where your house is, and it's everything around it. And we wanted to sort of lift up the idea that a home is more than a physical space. It's the connections that you do there. So that was kind of the catalyst there. So those were the three things. Did I forget something? Did I forget something? Yeah, Sharon, which one? Oh, and my gosh, Sharon's piece. Oh my gosh, it was Sharon's piece, the main piece. So we also had a lot of feedback that where are the older adults in your show? We've had a lot of questions on that. We didn't feel it, and for a lot of different reasons, we did a multi-generational cast. And then we actually, Sharon, who's been part of our creative team since the onset, which we met in Buffalo through like virtual life, we took a lot of Sharon's pieces. She's a writer for the Buffalo News and does a lot of columns. And we took those pieces and created a theater piece to give voice of what it means to age alone in this first person. Is that something fair? Okay, thank you. All right. So here is we really wanted to use this generative as a generative process. So we have Chris Lemon, my amazing collaborator, Ann Arbor Community Foundation. Here we go, Chris.
Well, I want to take this time to thank all of you for coming today. I have had the pleasure of sitting alongside this process for many years now. The decision to fund this work, which is really why I'm here, I'm the one that writes the check, but this is honestly some of the best funding that we can put out into the community. The majority of my work is focused on supporting older adults and their caregivers in our community, and we have had such an amazing journey with this particular body of work. And to see the audience grow every time that we do it, to see these fabulous people on the stage talking and sharing their experiences and understandings, I think is one of the most pivotal things that we can do as a community to really start addressing and understanding the needs of older adults within our community. So we're gonna have a panel discussion right now. We have an amazing dais in front of us, and if we could start on the end, we'll just do a quick introduction of who you are. That'd be fantastic, and then we'll get into some questions.
Hello, my name is Jason Morgan, and I serve as our state representative for part of Ann Arbor and part of Washtenaw County. So it's great to be with you all.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Justin Hodge. I'm the chair of the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners, and I represent District 5, which is most of Ypsilanti Township and all of Augusta Township. Anybody in either of those townships in here? Nope. All right, that's okay.
They're watching on the live stream.
They're watching the live stream.
Yes, exactly.
Good afternoon. My name is Gwen Copeland, and I'm part of the panel as a solo act. So I'm a citizen or seasoned citizen.
Hi, everybody. My name is Hannah Wiggins. I use they, them pronouns, and I serve as the program director over at the Neutral Zone. And I also serve as a collaborator and a creator with Limelight Theater.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So my first question is for everyone. And my question is, what was your initial response after watching this performance or performing in it? Either emotionally or cognitively, like what kind of things did you experience as you watched this be presented? And you can jump in any order. There's no ranking here.
It made me think about the experiences that my parents are going to be having over the coming years, and a lot of what I've seen with other family members that have been aging. One of the things that, I'm an only child, so one of the things that was really important to me was to be able to get my parents to live closer to me, and thinking about their changing needs as time goes on. And how that's a luxury that I have because I can have my family be closer, but I know that that's not something that many other people have. So in thinking about solo aging, I think about it from the perspective of government and what can we do to support our residents as they age and hopefully be able to age in place.
Well, since I'm wearing blue, I'll go next. Solo aging becomes very important. It became very important watching this act. This is the second time I've seen it. And there are some parts that are extremely personal, and I felt, have I done that? Am I willing to do that? And other persons that are seniors like myself, are we ready for this? And fortunately, I do have support, and I think that that was what resonated with me. I was taking notes to share when I get back to my senior building, to share with them the importance of interacting with one another. So.
I think for me, I always feel a little drained, but also electrified. The work is so important to me, and I'm so grateful that Decky allowed me to be a part of this journey. And I get done with it, and I get so tired, and then I think, when are we performing it again next? Because I just think it's something that so many people need to see, because it's not in the forefront of a lot of people's brains. But we are all aging, and if we are all blessed enough to get to the age of solo ager, we should have more support.
I'm sorry, Jason.
Oh, no worries. I was going to add that I think for me, what really stuck out to me was how important a sense of community is. How important community is for so many people. And also this feeling of that so much of what I heard was in some ways intergenerational. The idea of having someone to go to the doctor with you when you need someone to be with you. As somebody, I am somebody who has a disability, and I have felt that, and I'm not quite aging yet. I will get there one day, but have felt the same thing. And the sense of isolation that so many people that I've heard from across ages, the idea of going to a restaurant and eating alone. So much of these stories I feel like resonated with me more than I realized they would. So it's just so powerful to hear those stories. And I also, like Justin, I'm always thinking of like, how can I help as a public policy person? Like I'm always trying to think of how can I play a role in that. But listening to these stories, it really was just about the humanity of it and the importance of the sense of community and caretaking among all of us that really struck a chord with me.
That's great, and so I agree. The humanity aspect is so important, but we're not going to get away from the policy side just yet. I have questions that I've put together for each of you, just given your life experience and lived experience. So you teed us up beautifully. So I'm going to stick with you, Jason, if that's okay. Given your current work at a state level, are the things that we're talking about today or discussing or experiencing today through this amazing piece of theater, are these things being brought up in Lansing? And if so, like, what does that look like? And if they're not being brought up, why do you think that is?
That's a great question. And a lot of different components of some of these stories are coming up in Lansing. And before this, I served as a Washtenaw County Commissioner with Justin. And a lot of the things that we were seeing at the local level, you see also at the state level playing out in many ways. One of the big things that I personally have seen is the need for access to the world. And so one of the big things that I've been really focused on is access to public transportation, buses and mobility and ways to get places. To help with that sense of isolation, to help access the amazing community centers we have, the amazing community spaces and events and activities, to get here to the library that so many people need access to. And so trying to focus on that issue is one that has stuck out to me. But also as we look at the state budget and what we fund and whether we're funding community centers and public spaces and activities and access to transportation have been really powerful. One of the last things I'll mention among so many things that are being discussed at the state level is the concern around caretaking. And for us as the state, understanding what our role is in caring for our caretakers and helping those who are able to care for others and supporting them. Governor Whitmer recently talked about trying to have a caretaker tax credit. And we've talked about paid family leave so that if you do need to care for a family member, that you actually have that ability to take that time off in your job that many of our hourly jobs do not allow you to do. And so I will just add one last piece, which is I spent a lot of time caring for my father last year in my first year as a state legislator. And it was extremely difficult. He was 2.5 hours away. And my brother and I were both working, and my job was rather particular. We had a 1-seat majority, and so you literally could not miss a vote, no matter what, in many cases. And I just thought about how difficult that is and how so many people are deciding between just barely being able to get by themselves with a paycheck and being able to care for a loved one. And I just couldn't help but feel like we can and we have to do better to care for our caretakers. It's just something that just still sticks with me today.
Agreed. Gwen, let's pivot to you. As a solo ager, I think that your perspective is honestly one of the most important here. And I can say that having worked in the space of supporting older adults and caregivers for many years now, the narrative out in community tends to portray older adults as very dependent, weak, right? It's a pejorative way that older adults are framed. And we can agree that that is absolutely not the case, right? Given your lived experience, can you share some of the positive things or the enjoyable things that you experience as a solo ager to help change that narrative that's out there?
Yes, I wrote a long list of things that I've been doing since I retired. And recently, I've been really blessed to meet people that were encouraging. And that includes my own adult children who are in their 50s, and they say, Mom, we want to do what you do, because I have volunteered, and then I started finding other opportunities through the volunteering. Writing, I'm in 4 different writing groups. I take online classes through Hillsdale because they're free, and other resources that are available that are not costly for me. I have a couple of young women who I mentor. They call me and say, this is going on with me. And a lot of times just listening is important. I make friends with everybody. And I think because my father was a real estate broker, I never met a stranger. So when I go to the doctor, I make friends with the staff and patients and so on and so forth. They know me in certain stores here. The list goes on because I decided, I guess when I was a kid, I didn't want to be scared. I used to run under the table when I was a little girl, whenever my parents had company. And I didn't like that. And I wanted to be someone that was gregarious. Of course, at 5, I didn't understand the word gregarious. But I want to be a friend to people because I think that is my mission. I was talking earlier with Helen Love from the Detroit Area Agency on Aging, that it's really, everyone has a gift, okay? Some people don't know their gifts, and so they're walking around in circles. I was in circles until I turned 75 last year, and I found that my gift was encouragement and smiling at people and telling them thank you, like the three-pony lady. That was so beautiful. And I will remember that, and I try to take pictures. So, yeah, I think I haven't taken 5 minutes, have I?
Yeah. You can take as much time as you want. So, but thank you for that. I appreciate that. Justin, let's jump to you. So I don't know if everyone knows, outside of being a commissioner, Justin is also a professor at the University of Michigan in the School of Social Work. And I'm curious, we know that geriatric-focused workers, we know that there is a deficit of that in the workplace, right? And I'm curious about your thoughts, being in the field of education. Where are there opportunities to build understanding and empathy and excitement around workforce development that wants to support, the older generation within our community?
So that was another thing I thought about as I watched this. So within our School of Social Work, we have a variety of different tracks that students can choose to focus on. I'm the faculty lead for our policy track, but we also have a track that's focused on aging. And unfortunately, it continues to be our smallest track because students are not selecting to focus on that kind of content. And when I'm watching this, I'm thinking, man, we have to bring this to the school. Do this in the beginning of a semester or do it annually. Like that one. So, Decky, let's figure out how we can do that.
I think we got a future booking, Decky.
Every graduation we have, the dean, when she's giving her speech, talks about the number of students that are graduating from each of the tracks, and it's the aging pathway that tends to continue to be the lowest one. So we really have to do something about that. Faculty, we all try to do our part to let students know that, yes, we got to do and get trained to support kids and families, but the number of people that are going to need to be served by social workers in our community are going to be people that are aging. And if we don't start training the workforce now, there's going to be even more of a deficit than we're currently seeing. So thinking about this and anything else, other ideas that you might have, I'm all ears on what we can do, at least at my School of Social Work, to try to get more students interested and trained to be able to do this kind of work.
Wonderful, thank you. Hananiah, question for you. So I have my AARP card. I don't think you're quite there yet, all right. But I'm curious, you have had the unique experience of helping to put this together, right? Being a part of the storytelling, the cultivating of this theatrical representation it had many, many iterations, right? But as a person who is on the younger side of the generation, but then moving forward, like, what have you learned through this process, and how has that impacted how you view your life moving forward?
Great question. Yeah, I'm not there yet for AARP, but
I'm not asking numbers.
Yeah. Fingers crossed I get there. I think for me, the most important thing that I've discovered during my time working with Limelight for Solo Acts is that it's never too early to start putting in the preparation for what you want your life to look like. I think so many people my age view, what was it, 65 or 67 as so far away. But a lot of the issues that were coming up in the interviews that I was having with solo agers are things that people my age, 30, 31, 32, are dealing with, having to figure out how to get to the doctor, or feeling alone, feeling isolated. And I think a lot of that was further exacerbated by COVID. But I think, are in a very unique position to not just dwell on the hardships, but focus on the connections that we can have within a community. So
That's great, thank you. My next question is for everyone. Not everybody has to answer, but if you feel so inclined, I encourage you to do so. At the Ann Arbor Community Foundation, the work that we do to support older adults and caregivers, we term as healthy and fulfilling aging. And in essence, what that means is that we believe that every person in our community, regardless of age or situation, has the right to age with dignity, right? To be supported, but to know that they are a part of our community. And I'm curious, either based upon your lived or professional experiences, or even what you heard today, what do you think are some of the hurdles that prevent us from living a healthy and fulfilling life as we get older? What are those things that make it difficult, harder, or sometimes impossible? Go for it.
Bingo. I worked at a point in my life with persons who were physically or mentally incompetent. And that fell under the category of persons who were aging. That was a nice way of saying it, I guess. But as a younger person, and I was talking to people and not ever understanding what happened to them, what was their background, where did they live, who was going to come for them. Most of these people had no one. They had money, and they had property, and they had jewelry and all kinds of things like that, but there was no one there. And I think that that helped their deterioration of their mental health. That one lady I remember wore Chanel suits. Every time I would see her, she was my client. And she had these beautiful bottles in her apartment, just everywhere. And then the owner of the building, or the person that was managing the senior building, said, "You know, Helen likes to drink." And I said, "Really? I've never seen her drink." And he said, "Oh, those bottles, they have gin and whiskey and all kinds of different things in them." And I was like, "Helen, we've got to get rid of these things." She goes, "No." So the support that she had was me, a woman who already had a family, a woman who was already going home to someone to cook dinner. She had no one else. And I think that legislators, when over time, have not looked at that person like Helen, who had Shell Oil, whatever it was that she had stock, and other companies, a huge portfolio, but no human contact, no way of expressing herself other than to numb herself away from her pain. So I think that this is so important because people are living longer. We're not baby boomers in the sense that we're done at 60. No, people are living longer, so why not? I guess what we have to do as seniors is, I think they had the Gray Panther Party, is to start writing letters, which I got a letter when I came in, and saying what has to happen to make our lives better, because this is no good, and this is where you're going. And it's not a pretty picture, but it is not what I thought it was going to be. It was not what I thought it was going to be. But fortunately, I have support, and I have an income, and I'm here.
I think another challenge, but first I gotta say, Chris, those shoes are fantastic. I don't know if you can see the shoes from the audience, but those are very nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think a challenge is there's a lot of fear around aging, and people that are not there yet or don't have their AARP card yet don't want to think about that. And because of that, there's not as much focus on what do we need to be doing now, which really would be for all of our future if we're all lucky enough to be able to age in place. And there's funding challenges. There's the lack of infrastructure. Jason mentioned conversation around transportation, and it's great to have you working on that at the state, and we're going to do our part at the county too to try to be able to address that. Got our friends from Phoenix Mobility over there. Hey, there are a lot of partners that are at the table, but we need funding, and we need there to be enough interest, and for people to really prioritize this and understand that it's an issue for many people now. That's why I just really loved watching the performance, and we got to get this to a lot more places, because I think if people see that, they'll understand that these are things that are impacting people that they're interacting with on a day-to-day basis. I was telling Chris earlier, I had a constituent call me yesterday that's a solo ager, and she is looking for opportunities she's homebound and was looking for an opportunity to work from home because she needs more income to pay for her mortgage. And that's something that I think there are many seniors that are having that challenge in our community. Because there are challenges with economic opportunity across the whole lifespan, but often seniors are not being thought about. So really happy to be able to have the partners here like Chris and everyone else for us to think about how can we do that and really make a dent in this issue.
I think for me, I think it's really investing in our communities and our community spaces and activities and the things that in many ways sound like they're additive things in a community, maybe not essential, but I think sometimes people forget that getting out and seeing other people and having social interaction, that is a critical component of supporting our mental health. And if you don't support your mental health, your physical health is going to struggle just as well. And so we have a lot of amazing new medicines and things now to keep us living longer. But if we don't have companionship and friendship and families and people around us, whether we're living as solo agers or not, you have to have that sense of community. It's actually what drew me to want to be here in Ann Arbor. I grew up in very rural northern Michigan and moved here 13 years ago to work for Congressman John Dingell, Debbie's husband, who I grew to become very close with and was essentially very much family to me. Debbie lives a 5-minute walk from me now, and so we spend a lot of time together. And I'm going to remind her again that if she does need anything, she can call me any damn time, as she should know. We actually carpool regularly to different activities and events. And I'm pretty sure, I can't fully take credit for this, I think I introduced her to Uber and may have hinted that she should try it at some point in time. And I used to spend time staying with Mr. Dingell, her Congressman Dingell, but we always called him Mr. Dingell as former staffers. But it's this, there's something very special and amazing and unique about Washtenaw County and Ann Arbor that I found as soon as I moved here, and I said, this is a place that has community. I had lived in Washington, D.C. and worked out there for a bit. I've lived a couple other places, and above all else, what I love about this place so much, and why my home is here, I just bought a house last year, I plan to stay here forever, is the community. It's the people. It's people like Decky, I mean, and so many folks in this room that just make a place feel like a home. And I think, I do know that there are lots of things in public policy that impact that, but without getting into all of those, I will just say it truly is the people and how we support the work of those folks doing that great work that I think can make everything, aging and all of our lives, really amazing.
So I want to be mindful of time. I have like 30 other questions that I really wanted to pepper you with, but one of the things that we honor in this process is that theater is an amazing way to explore things individually. It's an amazing way for us to explore things collectively, right? I was sitting in the back. I was thrilled to see so much laughter. I saw a lot of people also dabbing their eyes as well, right? I mean, these experiences are meant to elicit emotions, thoughts, memories. But I think that we fail when you as an audience only sit there and watch, because collectively there is so much in this room right now, right? And I'm about to open up a can that we might be 5 hours late, but we want to make sure that we're giving you an opportunity to ask questions, to make statements, or whatever that may be, because getting you all riled up and excited and then being like, there you go, that's not really fair, right? So I've asked this illustrious group up here questions. If there are some that you would like to answer yourselves, or if you have questions of anything about this process. But what we're going to do is we're going to open it up. We have a microphone that will be rotating around. And sorry, you're right in the light. I apologize. I didn't see you. I saw the microphone go up. So great. And so raise your hand. We will do our best to get to you. I see you in the back too, so we will do this as best we can. You don't have to hold your hand up the whole time. I don't want anybody cramping on us right now. But let's hear what you have to say.
I think there's a hole in our society. When you came here to this library, did you notice all the people who don't have homes? What is our government doing to help these people? William Barber II from the Poor People's Campaign said, you have to live from the bottom. And I think we're missing that step. We're stepping over that. I am impacted by poverty. And the government, nobody wants to use that word poverty as if it is a dirty word. And nobody says anything about the people who are living on the street. People who have been 40 years on the street in Ann Arbor. Young people that Mark and I have met that are missing toes because they have to sleep out in 20 or 20 below weather. They don't have any place to go to the bathroom. One guy got arrested because he peed in some public place. He got arrested for that. So, and as far as homes, when you talk about a home, I don't have a home. When Mark and I go out in the country, I look at all these homes out in the country. And that will never happen. That's my dream. But unless I win the lottery, it's not going to happen. So I am angry. I'm really angry. I'm disgusted with our government. And, you know, some of this government say they want to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid. If they do that, I will be on the street. So I have a question. Who is doing anything about these people, poor people, and people on the street? Hope, I have spoken.
Thank you.
Right, that is the three-pony woman right there.
All right, I think we had a hand in the back, and then we had a couple people up front here.
Absolutely. I'm going to do my walk. I'm a model today. Here we go.
You better strap be win.
Is this on? Yeah. Okay, I am a retired geriatric social worker who spent 40 years working with older adults, and then a funny thing happened. I became an older adult. And I have about 10,000 comments I could make. But one thing I learned last year that I think we all need to be aware of, and I may have the number wrong because it was last year, is that Washtenaw County is one of 12 counties in Michigan, 12, that does not have a millage for senior services. And so when we talk about training social workers, yes, but they need jobs. They need places to work. People need to be able to go to them. And until we understand and can pass budget legislation that provides services, it's not going to happen, no matter how positive we are about aging. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think we had two up
Right
front here, and then we'll go over. Oh, there we go.
Here we go.
Hi, I appreciate all that you've said. You know, I'm not there yet. I'm maybe in about 10 years or so I'll be, 10, 15 years. You know, but I've been a caretaker for my parents off and on for 30 years, and it hasn't been a few days here and a few days there. It's been several weeks, several months, even several years at a time. They were in New York. My mother recently passed away, and before that my dad passed away 13 years ago. But it was, you know, I'm glad you touched on caretakers or caregivers, but, you know, more and more people are in my situation that they've sacrificed a lot in their lives, jobs, relationships, financial security for themselves to take care of parents. And then once they're gone, what's there for you? You know, that's the other thing. And it's not, I mean, a tax credit is a nice start, but it's got to be way more than that, because you will, at least, you know, I find myself now, I'm needing social services, I'm needing Medicaid, I'm having to re-enter the workforce and explain to people, well, you didn't do anything. And I really get offended with that when people say that. You didn't work. I worked. I wasn't paid for it. But it was a lot of work, because when you're a caretaker, and maybe you have a sense of this, I've had many more years of that, and I'm glad you had that sense, especially as a man, you know, because usually it's women. And you're talking to somebody who taught women's studies at U of M as a graduate student. And, you know, but the thing is that, like, you know, because I feel like because I'm a woman, it wasn't taken seriously. Because I'm the only daughter, it wasn't taken seriously. And as far as social workers go, when we were dealing with social workers, when my mother fell and when she needed care from the hospital and she was having appointments at home and therapies at home as well as in the hospital, some of these social workers were nice, but they had this assumption of not only looking down on me, but telling me that I needed to commit more of my life to them when they just didn't know how much I committed, you know, and that I was the only one doing that. And I was getting criticized left, right, and sideways. And many times I had to point out to them things that that didn't even occur to them in terms of falling issues, safety issues. And, you know, when I told them, I'm trying to explain to my mother, who, by the way, was a doctor, she was a pediatrician, I'm trying to explain to her things that she really needs to take into account when it comes to everyday safety. And they said, well, you know, we can't impose on her, you know, we can't talk to her about that because, you know, that's her personal right. And I said, yeah, but that's my work now. And that's something you're holding me responsible for, but you're not empowering me or helping me to do anything about that. So I think I agree with you. We need more social workers in that role, but I think we also need social workers who look at it as it's not just that individual person, it's the caretaker and a lot of times a family member who's integrally involved in that.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm gonna go all the way back. Here we go. And then I'm coming back to the front, get my steps in.
My name is Sharon, and I've been disability since 1991, and I think the laws need to be changed about this conservatorship. My son took me back to probate court so he could basically took a lot of my finances and took a lot of things away from me. And I think the government needs to change the conservatorship, and I think it goes back to the people, not the voters, but the politicians, who's ever voting, needs to change a lot of them rules, because I think this conservatorship is for the birds, where they sit and tell you what you can do, what you can't do, and what you can have and what you can't have. They basically run your life, and my son and I have been fighting for 3 years over it. I've had him back to court a couple of times, and I want him off. I'm trying to get him off of this conservatorship so I can get my finances and everything back, what is belonged to me. And basically, that's all I wanted to say. I think there has to be some laws changed about the conservatorship.
Thank you.
All right, now, that's fair. Here we go.
Hi. One thing is to just look around and see what the makeup of the crowd is. It's mostly women. And it's mostly us older women, I think, that are caught in this trap of poverty and loneliness. And one of the things that I lived off the sale of my home for years, and then I had nothing because the pandemic hit. My mom got sick and passed away. So I was now I'm living in a senior living house. I had no idea what I was getting into, and you know, you guys talk about just when I moved here from Hawaii, it was just like another land, another space. But I'm an older woman now with a very low income, and I love the play and everything, but what are the answers? I don't see that many answers. It took me months and months of just trying to do the footwork of trying to not end up in a homeless shelter. I mean, they sent me to Delanis to get a social worker, and I was just shocked at how little there is for women our age. You know, there's just nothing out there, and I feel like there's just a lot more to be done. You know, and as far as transportation, you can get a senior bus pass and get on and off the bus whenever you can. And then there's also this wonderful new transportation service that's here now. But I just see that it's mostly us women. We always are the ones that do all the damn work, you know, and just a lot of the responsibility falls on us. And I just don't see the support. People talk about it all the time, but you just be my age and get out there and try to find a nice private home or a room or something. U of M has something called Home Share, which some cities have, which like women like here that have lost their partners or that are single from divorce or whatever, that people that have homes that they want to share with another person, or people looking for a home. And U of M had that, and the pandemic hit, and they shut it down. And just as it started to get going. And I've asked them a couple of times, why it's got to come from the legislature, the funding, and the government. Like, who's pushing for that? Nobody. Nobody. So anyway, let's just focus on what we're really here for.
I really appreciate you lifting it up, and I do want to say that like the breakout sessions that we're going to get into after this, we are going to start talking about the solution side of things. So I appreciate you lifting that up, though. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And then who do we have in the front?
Got a couple more right up here.
Oh, one more and then lunch. Who do we have?
Right here.
Okay, two and lunch. I'm going to go here and here because I was already at you.
Hi, I'll try to be brief. It's hard for me. I appreciated the just previous speaker bringing up the issue of housing and cost. That's something that didn't actually get talked about a whole lot, and I think from my point, I'm part of the missing middle. You know, I had a great job, and then there was this vast layoff, and I had no money left, and so thank God I have a pension and Social Security, although Social Security, if it isn't fixed in, I think, 9 years, the benefits are going to be cut 20%, which is unacceptable. The point is, in Ann Arbor, we actually have an opportunity in front of us because there's a major league comprehensive planning process going on that is very focused on affordability of housing, mixing up uses, having more choice in housing styles, which involves changing the way we've been doing things. You know, adding more choice in single-family neighborhoods so they're not exclusively large lot. I can't take care of my house, and I've had to remortgage it twice to pay my property taxes. So now if I sell it, I won't have enough money to afford a little condo or even rent these days. And I don't want to live in a senior house. I like being out with all ages and everybody, and I love my neighbors. So we need to change right away, and we have an opportunity to do it. So if you aren't plugged in to the comprehensive plan that's going on now, please do it, because if we don't advocate for the changes that will actually improve our lives and the lives of our kids so they actually could live in the community, it's not going to happen, and the gap that's growing is just going to be unsustainable. So think about that, because that's really, really important.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, so much. Thank you.
All right, now last one before lunch.
Okay. I'm used to talking for 3 minutes in front of the commissioners. Somebody brought up back there about the fact that we don't have a senior millage in Washtenaw County. All the counties in Michigan, except for 8 or 9 of them, do. And they have far more things to do with seniors. They just have more opportunities. Just as a personal example is my sister and brother-in-law lived in Kalamazoo until they died. He had Alzheimer's, and she had, for about 50 years, she lived with rheumatoid arthritis, and she was taking care of him. And she was blind from the right arthritis and very crippled. And I made one phone call trying to find some help for her. And because Kalamazoo had just gotten a millage passed, they were able to bring food into them. They actually, at one point, they had a chef coming into their house and cooking for them so that they would cook, or they would get the food they were used to eating. And that was especially important for my brother-in-law who had Alzheimer's. At the same time, they got Meals on Wheels. They got someone that came into the house to clean for my sister, somebody to do the laundry. It was like this long list from one phone call. And we have great nonprofits in Washtenaw County, all of us are really strapped for money. I've got great, from ARPA money, I was able to hire some new people at the senior center. but it's not going to last. You know, it's 1 year. And then who knows what I'm going to be able to do. We're writing grants like mad. And also in the state level, is there used to be a line in the budget that helped support senior centers. There is still a line in the budget, but there is no money ever allotted to it. And I'm just want something to happen with that, because most senior centers are not supported by any government. Some of them have their municipality is able to provide some money, but most of them, like ours, has no funding from the city. So we just need some help, because seniors are growing older, and there's much more of us. Actually, I heard one thing. Yeah, I'm getting the wrap up. One thing I heard recently is, as the baby boomers went into kindergarten, people or the municipalities and governments built more kindergartens. When they went to grade schools, they had to build more grade schools. Now they're seniors, and there's nothing. You know, there's no allowance for all of us that were born during that time. And I'll wrap that up.
Chris, can I
Oh,
just
yeah, go
make
ahead, Jason.
one quick comment on housing? Housing is one of the #1 issues facing our state. Affordability and housing. We invested $200 million in the state budget this past year into affordable housing. I want to make sure folks know, for 40 years, I'm trying not to be political, but for 40 years, it's been 40 years since the Democratic Party was in charge in Lansing. We have starved our social services and our social safety net for most of the last 40 years. We elected a Democratic majority last year, and we are turning the tide around. We are turning the ship around. We are trying to invest in all these things that you are 100% right we have to do. We are starting to do that, and we're going to keep doing it. But it's going to take us a little bit of time to catch up from what we've been struggling with for all these years. But you are unequivocally right. We have to do it. And frankly, the state has done a horrible job over the years at supporting our seniors, because folks have been in charge who've taken an approach that it's everyone for themselves, and they got to pull up their bootstraps. Well, that's not going to happen. We've got to help and support as the state government, and it shouldn't be just put on the backs of property taxpayers. I heard in one breath we need a millage to pay for these services, which we absolutely do, and in another breath that I can't afford to pay my property taxes. So how do you do that? It should be the state and federal government, but particularly the state government. We have to do a better job. Folks should continue, start and continue yelling at the state, because the state has failed us. That's why I went there. That's why I went to the state from the county, because we've been doing everything we can in Washtenaw County, but the state needs to do their darn job too. So, sorry, I will leave it there, but I'm extremely passionate because you're all right.
That performance by Jason Morgan. All right. I want to thank this amazing panel. Thank you, Chris Lemon. Amazing. Such a supporter of healthy aging in our county. Really a transformational person, not just shoes and all. We were saying it. I want to thank Hananiah and Gwen and Justin and Jason for being here. We're so grateful for your leadership. I cannot tell you. We have a housing session this afternoon in transportation. Phoenix, you're going to learn. We also have what does it mean to reinvent your soul life, but we really have lunch. Sam?
Hi, everybody. My name is Sam. It's so nice to see you all here today, and if you're anything like me, you are hungry. All right, let's get you all some lunch, shall we? So here's what we have for lunch today. We have Tubby's subs. We have turkey and cheese subs. We have ham and cheese subs.
Hello, everybody. I need to look for Okay, we have 2 sessions back to back. We're going to call this dinner theater because we're eating and there's theater and there's a stage. We have 2 sessions. Our first session is living and getting around A2 and beyond Ann Arbor. And we have several presenters that are going to share, maybe even answer some questions in and around housing and in and around transportation. You can still have conversations but this is an opportunity to really get to know some of the solutions that are possible here. That was part of it. So we have storytelling, we have some theater, we have some policy makers and people, and now we have some problem solvers, we hope. So here we go, Rebecca. You are up for, you want to go first on Phoenix? We're going to have transportation, then we have our housing folks up right afterwards. So you can come up here. So this is informal, and then our final, real quickly, is what's next? Reinventing the solo life with our own Sharon Kramer. All right, Rebecca, here we go.
Good afternoon. Hello. Thank you. This beautiful performance earlier. I definitely had tears in my eyes as well. So thank you to the performers today, and thank you all for coming. My name is Rebecca Yachik. I am the Community Development Manager for Phoenix, which is a nonprofit organization focusing in on solving transportation gaps in our community. While I'm here in Washtenaw County, and I have lived here since 2016, my organization's national, but we're working a lot in Michigan to solve transportation gaps, not only here, but in Detroit, in Jackson, Hillsdale, Lenawee counties, as well as Kent County, and working on expanding that, and really focusing in on where do people need to go and how do they get there. And so there was a flyer that was being passed around, and through the support of the county and the Racial Equity Office, we have started a Rides for Older Adults program. So if you're a Washtenaw County resident, age 60 plus, and you need to get to a healthcare, medical care, or get to food access, so a meal program, grocery store, food pantry, you can call us and get a no-cost free ride to that service. And so this is an amazing initiative. It's been something I've been working really hard with, not only as Phoenix, but working with community partners across the community for the last few years to figure out how do we solve this transportation gap for older adults. Because you may want to drive, but you have to stop driving, right? Or, you know, it's expensive to own a car. Oh my God, like especially with insurance right now. I'm really lucky that my car payment's not that bad, but you know, it gets expensive. And so we're figuring out ways to solve these problems. And so basically how you can use our program, and I would provide visuals, but then I would take all day. So you can call us, you can go online, or use a smartphone app, which is called the Catch a Ride app. It may not be on that flyer, but I have other flyers too. And you say, I want to go from point A to point B this date and time. Here are my mobility needs, if you have any. And then it shows you all of the options available to you. Now, we work with third-party providers. Besides our volunteer driver program, which we're always looking for volunteers if you drive and you want to be a volunteer, but we work with the community. So we work with organizations like The Ride. How many of you took the People's Express shuttle today? Yeah, People's Express, Wave, taxi companies, small businesses, non-emergency medical transportation, and you get to pick the option that's best for you, whether that is the mobility needs that you may have, the service that you're looking for, or maybe it's just that's where their service area is. You're only seeing the options available to you all in one place because we heard that someone was spending 3 days just trying to get a ride to a doctor's appointment. This is taking 30 minutes. So it's really awesome. And so from there, we take care of it and make sure that the ride happens. You get a call back the day before saying, hey, Brittany, I just want to make sure that all of your ride information is correct because we know that life changes and maybe that appointment that was at 11:15 now got bumped to 11:30 so they could see another patient. So we change that for you. And then the ride happens. You get where you need to go safely and securely. And so I ask if you have any questions. I know that it's kind of hard to explain it and visualize it just very quickly. So I'm happy to answer anything. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so you can book a round trip all at once. And so what we typically do is like for a doctor's appointment, we'll say, about how long is that? You know, usually it's like a 2-hour window frame. We like to give people more time than less time because the last thing we want is some provider coming early and saying, well, I'm here, and you're still like finishing up your doctor's appointment. So we like to give more time, but you can book round trips and you can book multiple rides in one call. Right now we're asking for about, from the most you can book out is about 2 or 3 weeks, all the way up to like 24 hours before. Give us a few days if you have mobility needs or other things, but we try to make the ride happen. And again, we work with all different types of providers, also including Uber, so that is an option as well. But we definitely take care of you through the whole process and accommodate all. So rides can happen 24 hours a day. Oh, thank you. I'll hand it to people, and yeah. So the question, is this working? Yes. Oh, yeah, Brittany, you want to come help? Okay. So the question is this service 24 hours a day? Some of our providers do operate 24 hours a day. So if you're out there until 2 a.m. and you need a ride home. Oh.
My insurance is supposed to cover transportation for me.
Yes.
They don't. So, well, they say they do. Excuse me.
But there's a lot of.
They say they do, but the drivers don't show up. And one night I was stranded at the hospital for 7 hours because I couldn't get home.
Well, you can always. So our call center is not open 24/7, but we do have a smartphone app and also an online portal that could help you get there. We're hopefully getting to a point where 24/7 is, we're operating 24/7 as a call center. But our providers do exist, and some of them do operate and do provide services all the time. Well, do you have a smartphone? No? Okay. Okay, well, we'll figure that out, and I'll let my team know, because one of these things that's really awesome is that this is a new program, but we're learning as we go along through this. We have an idea of what works, but it may not work for everyone. Yeah, we have an idea, and we're pushing towards. Yeah, we're trying to address it. Any other questions? To the back.
Is this an income-driven program? Like, are there income top limits?
As of right now, it's not an income-driven program. What we're doing is exploring what does that look like? What is the user of this program look like? So that in the future we can advocate for future funding to support these initiatives. So we're learning as we go along too of who's going to use this. Are you 60 or are you 85? Where do you live in Washtenaw County? What is your income? What do you do? Where do you need to go?
How long is your grant last? By the way, I'm the other Rebecca that we were both working at JFS for like a minute.
Oh, hey.
Hey. So I was just wondering, when is the spatial equity fund
Yeah,
ending?
so that's a great question. This fund ends December 31st, but we are working to sustain this program beyond 2024. We do have funding proposals in, and we're making sure that this won't end come January 1st. Yeah, free transportation, but January 1st I'll still be here. Employed, but we right now we are working on building out programs that will be sustainable for no cost transportation, because we learned this the last few years that if someone needs our service, they probably cannot afford the cost associated with it. And we know that transportation is not sustainable for older adults. It's not something you can exit out of. You're always going to need transportation, and we're trying to figure out a solution around that. Any other questions? Oh. Yes.
What would you suggest is the best way to reach you? Because I hate telephone trees where you have to wait and wait and wait.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, our call center, we do have several agents that are Phoenix employees, so you're not talking to someone that we're third-party, call center. There is sometimes a wait time, but I will say I'm available if you are tech savvy. We can download the app today if you would like. I can stick around and we can go through that. If you are not, the best way to get in touch with us is our call center. We also have, I can give my card out as well of ways you can contact me in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I just want to comment on those third parties that, that
Yeah.
overseas. Sometimes, they're starting to sound real. They sound like real people. And and so I'll get one and I'll start talking to them, and Mark is going, no, that's a computer generated. But I got to tell you, I hate that. I know the people that are doing this overseas don't make diddly-wot nothing.
Yeah.
So I hate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for being a human. When I call you, I'm going to go, wow.
We have some really great staff folks on our call center team. Yeah, so the number to call is 734-259-4125. We have a lot more flyers to hand out. I have like general flyers about the Washtenaw County Transportation Assistance Hub. Maybe you don't qualify for this program, or maybe you are just looking to book rides for something that's not healthcare, medical care, or food access. You can book those rides. It does come at a cost, but we try to work with everyone and find the best solution for them if we can. And if not, we'll help you get to another solution as well. But again, 734-259-4125. I'm glad that I memorized that. It's new. It's a new number. It's a few weeks. No, Any other questions? Yeah. So we do use a language line, and we are working on translating some of our documents for those who do English is not their first language or primary language. All right. Well, there are other great people who need to talk, but I'll be here. Thank you.
So we have our housing up, and then we have our final act today, Sharon Kramer, who'll be talking about reinventing solo life. Here we go with Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Schleck-Pachera. I'm a realtor with Real Estate One, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to touch on, I have handouts that you can take with you. A lot of our clients are looking to move from a larger home, or they're with somebody where they need to downsize, and there's a lot of things that you need to consider as you're doing that. Some of those, right, we're aware of that we've talked about. First of all, I love the group that this has brought together. So many great resources that are here for you, and so many great things we're hearing. And I want to say is push for that millage. When you hear talk about that, that really is big. We really are one of the few communities that do not have a millage for aging, and it is really, really important. But some of the things that you may not think about if you're looking to move houses or you want to stay where you are to age in place is handles on things, the width of the door when you walk into. We've talked about where you're located. Unfortunately, right, the closer you are to things that you can walk to, the more expensive that housing is. So that's part of our drawback, is the closer you are to, let's say, downtown and walking, the more expensive that housing is. But things that are on one level, now a lot of places are getting better with putting in elevators, in lifts, to help it staying on one level. Door widths are really, really important. Hallways, in some of the older homes, it's really hard to get those, but you can look to, we've got a list of contractors now that help with those, that are making things that are more accessible. Your shower, your bathrooms are really important. Grab bars, there's a lot of safety issues. So we look to see what you can do within your current home if you're looking to stay there, and what can be adjusted. And if you're looking for other houses, that's where we've pegged places around town and in other surrounding communities that really do a great job of building communities with a various level of aging, right? So you could have young children next to you and somebody next door that needs help but that wants to age in place. And that really is part of that whole building community piece. Transportation needs, there's a lot of other groups here that have hit on those, the transportation needs. But also finding places that are low in maintenance. So some of the things that you look at, we can help you find things that are lower in maintenance and help you with the overall cost. Because there's lots of things moving into a condo, which a lot of people feel like that's gonna save them a lot of money. You need to look at the HOA fees. Some of the HOA fees are up to $900 a month. So while you think you might be getting a deal on the condo, once you add in that HOA fee, you may not be getting that deal. So we can help with some of those things to find a place that hits your financial goals, but also your aging in place goals. And the last one I wanted to talk about is the future adaptability. So while some of the things may not be there right now, again, the bathrooms are your big things, your hallways, your doorways, so that you can get through if you're using a walker, wheelchair, cane, whatnot. But as long as it can be adapted future, there are places right now that are giving discounts to seniors. And there's a few nonprofits that are starting to do work to help seniors make adaptations to their current homes. And I'm gonna leave, there's a whole list of things. You've got a lot of other resources that I wanna leave time for since we're running short on time. But I will leave these handouts. It has my contact information on there if you have any questions. But again, I love you guys bringing this together, such a wealth of information. Thank you.
I just wanted to point out that I'm here representing Jewish Family Services of Washtenaw County. I'm very proud to work for them. We have transportation, we have senior services, we also do case management and caregiver support. But I wanted to point out that Catholic Social Services is outside in the hall, and they are one of the nonprofits that was just alluded to that will help you modify your home. And so that's a really cool program that they have that I'm going to push for them since they're not out here. I am. And I encourage you to visit their table and to call JFS if you're for any reason.
Yes. Okay. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Desiree Herrick, and I'm the Intake and Resources Coordinator with the Housing Bureau for Seniors, part of Community Health Services with Michigan Health. And we have a table or information on the table out the doors, first table on the left, but I did want to just share a little bit of information. For the Information and Resources or Housing Counseling Program, we maintain several housing guides, mostly specific to Washtenaw County, but have tracked down a lot of housing resources for other counties throughout Michigan as well. That could include low-cost and affordable housing, retirement residences, which could range from independent living, assisted living, or skilled nursing. Could also include memory care components, and then also information about AFC homes or group homes. And we have a robust eviction prevention and foreclosure prevention program with eviction prevention that could include negotiating things with your landlord or current things to try to maintain that housing, working with other community partners to try to possibly financially help someone maintain their housing, or looking for, if it's not going to be possible to do that, where is a place that you can go to next, and possibly helping with moving or other things related to that. With foreclosure prevention, in addition to that program, we do a tax preparation program, and the tax prep program generally runs from February to April, mid-April every year, where we do free income tax preparation. And that usually takes place at Turner Senior Resource Center and also our office. But even beyond, now that that clinic has wound down for this year, we still offer assistance preparing home heating credits and property tax credits, as well as anyone wishing to apply for a homestead hardship or poverty exemption for their home. And in that foreclosure prevention program, it can also be helping people look at loan modifications for their mortgage, or talking with their mortgage company, or if it's a home equity line of credit, something like that, helping assist and identify resources and ways to hopefully help people stay in their homes. And so I don't know if anybody has specific questions for me, but there is definitely a lot of literature on that table. And just go from there. Excellent. Yes. And Cranbrook Towers is going to have an open wait list in I think about the 20th. So, yes.
I wonder if you folks for housing, Habitat for Humanity, and Mark and I, we checked one house, and we didn't like the location; it was run down. But it sure would be great if that organization got funding, because then there will be more houses available for people who, like me, have never owned a house.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there is one program right now that I'm aware of through the University Bank in Ann Arbor. They offer a grant program, and one of the grants through that is a home ownership program, and I believe that it can help with a down payment through that program. So, again. And I think there's a rural,
There's a rural
through the
one.
USDA, there's
Yep.
a rural home ownership program as well.
Too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We want to be thoughtful of the time of the library, but we want to get to Sharon Kramer. And I want to just also mention, you've heard the millage for quite a bit. There is information here on a letter you can write for the senior millage, and we can disseminate that, and a handout that explains it. There's a lot of things tied to it. We've asked for some solutions. This will help support some of those solutions that we're talking about today. All right, and then we began with the stories of solo agers, and we are ending with our creative collaborator, Sharon Kramer, solo ager extraordinaire, who put this lovely piece together for you. So if we can give her attention, and we're gonna send this puppy out. All right.
Thank you. Well, I know during the panel you heard our wonderful speaker talk about connecting and staying connected, and being part of this project has been really wonderful for me. But thinking about life as a solo, I hope that this presentation will spark one or two ideas, either for you yourself or for somebody that you know. So I put a lot of heart and soul into it. I hope it's useful. So I'm assuming that you came here in part, and I'm so pleased, probably about half of you stayed, which was wonderful. The room was so filled earlier. But wanting to think about being a solo in, as we heard from Mary, a world of duets. And I'm hoping that today will enable you to think differently about that world that you're in. Being a solo, it sometimes is lonely, but it gives us an opportunity, and I hope today sparked that for you, to think differently about being alone. This is one of my all-time favorite quotations. May Sarton, a poet and novelist, thought about loneliness as the absence of self and solitude as the fullness of self. So my point is not to say you have to go out there and do things with other people, but that you do have to dig deep into finding ways to figure out yourself and satisfy yourself. So these are the purposes of the session. And I know Decky's going to be handing out, or Brittany's going to be handing out flyers that include the key points here so that you don't have to worry about writing them down, because there's a lot in here. And I want to thank Phyllis Herzig for helping me with this session, because she helped me narrow it down a little bit. I hope to give you some really practical strategies, as well as thinking about friendship, which is something that is sort of like the Twinkie of life. You know, you kind of think it's going to be there and it's never going to fade or change, but we do have to make new friends or revitalize old friendships in different ways. And we're hoping, our time is so limited, but we're hoping that we might be able to brainstorm some local places for you to go. And certainly the library system is one of those. There's so much going on here, and I know the librarians who've been part of our day and helping us prepare yesterday told us a lot about what they're doing. So what I put together were some takeaway ideas. And again, these are on the handout that you're getting. But the first takeaway idea is not to sit home and think about, wouldn't it be nice if I were involved in things, but actually to get out there and do some of the things yourself. So I have a couple of thoughts on that, and all of these are ones that I think are doable if you don't stop and ponder them too much, but you really look at what you used to be interested in or might be interested in and think about getting involved in new things. I think the second to last one for me is probably the most important. The develop new routines and include permissions for fun, because we have to give ourselves permission to do some things sometimes. And there are a lot of free things. I remember when I was a student in New York City and I had to treat the shop windows like a museum because I couldn't afford a thing. But there was so much that was free. And I think that in your community, there are probably similar opportunities for you. And I'm going to show you how to use those opportunities as ways to meet people, maybe not your lifelong friends, but new people in your life. I also think that this idea is one of my really very important concepts, and that is that when you get into something, when you try something out and it doesn't work, fine, don't go back. You're not married to it. And I think that sometimes we get inhibited from even trying because we think, well, they're going to, you help out at one rummage sale and they're going to call on you next time. Well, maybe they will, and maybe you say yes, and maybe you say no. And you may say, I can't do it this time, but try me again, because you aren't sure, and that's okay. So I think one of the big messages of getting in and out is getting out and then in and then out again. I also think that there are some real important things about solo life that are do's and don'ts. We think about them the way we might have taught friendship to children, that there are do's and don'ts. Well, there are different ones for us as adults. And I think one of the biggest things for me, my husband was the photographer of our family, and so after he died and I went on a trip, I thought, well, who's going to take the pictures? And I thought, well, I guess it's going to be me. What I didn't realize was that camera was like a kind of like private companion for me, because I could take pictures. I mean, especially with digital pictures, it doesn't even matter if they're good or bad. You can walk around and take pictures, and it feels like purposeful. And sometimes you strike up a conversation with people. So that would be my idea of connecting with people doing things you like. Asking questions of people who are gardeners or who are photograph activity-oriented. And Phyllis mentioned this 75-25 rule, that in friendship development, you'd like to think it's even Steven. But we as solos, we may be having to do the 75% so that we make more initiatives. We check and see if they want to do something. And these last two, the don'ts, don't expect instant friendship because sometimes it doesn't materialize. And also don't take silence personally. Sometimes people are just busy. Or if they're abrupt with you, you write them off. Just give it a little more patience. I see you nodding a lot. Am I heading home here? Okay. So here's our second takeaway. And that is a really interesting thing that I learned about learning to speak solo. It's like a language. One of the things that happened just to me earlier this week was somebody had something that reminded me of my husband. And I didn't want to talk about that. So I thought, well, do I just say I? And that didn't seem right. Well, then I said, you know what? I have a friend who. So that was learning to say things differently, using language and realizing that the pronouns, everything about it just is very different. And I think that once we realize that, it's possible to feel more free. There's a lot of issues with being fluent in another language, and I like to think about it with patience and taking pride in accomplishments, because you can communicate your history without going into everything. You can talk about going to a place without explaining who you went with or how you're not talking to them anymore or whatever it is, you know? You can just tell your story in the way that you want to. It's your story. So the idea of being a fluent solo means you get to decide how you see yourself, and you get some new options as well. The next takeaway I developed for you was the idea of thinking about friendship in layers, so that it isn't like you're all of a sudden friends or you're not, but instead you're starting at a very basic level, and you'll see in the handout there's some suggestions for forming those very beginning questions and responses to new people. I was at a lecture the other day, and everybody was just like the play said, you know, everybody was with other people, and I was the only one I thought who was alone. And then a woman who I had thought was with a group of people, she went and sat down by herself, and I thought, I'm going to practice this. So I said, well, what brought you to the lecture? And she and I started talking, and in fact, she even moved over to sit next to me. And I thought, well, this is nice, you know. It was just a little nothing, but it made me feel less alone. And then at the end, we could both say, wasn't that a great lecture, and go our separate ways. So I think just getting in those kind of habits can help you to move along. So my suggestion in this, I just can't tell where I am exactly. These are all on your handout. Some examples of comments and questions that are a little bit more than, you know, what brought you here today. So you can go on and do more with that. And as I said, in this next layer, this next slide, and that's all in the handout, are different layers. So it's kind of like breaking it down. And if you were going to learn a new sport, or you were going to learn a new exercise, or learn a new cooking technique, you do it in layers, you do it in steps, and that was my suggestion here. You've all learned how to be friends over the years. You've all learned how to be friends with people who newly enter your family through marriage or combining in whatever way. And so I want to encourage you to use those skills that you already have, but edge them out into a new way for finding new ways to be friends with new people or deepen your friendship. This next part of my presentation is really how to be a more self-sufficient solo, and that is something that was also mentioned in the play today, the idea that neighbors can check in on neighbors. I have a couple people that I text each morning, and one morning somebody said, I didn't hear from you, is everything okay? And I had forgotten to text her that morning. So I just know that people are checking in on me, whether I'm out talking to them or not. And you can find different people to be involved in your life when you are kind of mutually aware of each other. And also when people need help, there are times that we can really reach out then too. This next slide is about volunteering. That was mentioned a few times today. I don't think nearly enough. It's like a garden for life is volunteering. Not only do you feel good that you're doing it, but you're giving back to your community. You're also getting a chance to meet like-minded people who may be really different from the people who are in your, friendship closet that have been there forever. It's kind of like refreshing your closet with a new scarf or something, except it goes a lot further than that when you get to volunteer in meaningful ways. It's something that I would encourage you to really think about. And faces start to get familiar. I'm terrible with names, but I do sort of remember faces. So I get to have little conversations with people, and it just wakes me up a lot. Another thing I would really encourage you to do is to think about things that you used to do and put them up on a high shelf in that closet and start to look at new things. Because you don't have to just focus on what was. You can start to think about what can I bring into my life now. New hobbies and things you might enjoy. I hate to say it, but if my husband hadn't died, I never would have picked up a camera, and I would have lost so much in my life. So I'm so grateful that I invented this new hobby, and it's been really purposeful for me, and perhaps you can come to some of those things as well. I think that the idea of when you start thinking about new friends, you also think of people who aren't in your life anymore. whether it's through neglect and benign neglect, you don't see them very much, or they've passed away, or they've moved on, or moved away. I call those people my ghost circle. I'm aware of them, but I don't let them stop me. And I acknowledge the loss, but I don't give up. The fourth and last takeaway is to seek out solo-friendly places. This is our new museum in Buffalo that I go to a lot. There's a lot of room for just hanging out, and it's a friendly place. These suggestions that I have for you are on the handout, and they all identify ways that you might be able to expand your circle of friends, the people who you think about or who you get involved with in your life. I'm a bulletin board reader. I've always been one since high school and college, ever since. Nowadays, we can stay at home and do bulletin board reading. And I do, we heard mention of AARP a little bit earlier today. I've been involved with AARP as a volunteer for some years. There is so much out there. There's an amazing series of programs called Senior Planet. Every week you get a list of different online programs that you can participate in, some anonymously, some with your face showing. There's so much out there to engage you and engage your mind, and I encourage you to think about that. And then again, there are lots of solo-friendly opportunities. Our community has a tour program where you can get a one-year pass and go on lots of different tours. And so many times, I'm a volunteer with them, and I love volunteering because I get to meet people, but also I see how many different people, some working, some young, some old, get involved with our tour program, and they do it all by themselves. They just show up, and then 90 minutes later, they go their separate ways, but it's been meaningful. I would also say that the idea of inviting others, you make your plan and then say, I'm going to the movies at 2 o'clock on Wednesday, would you like to go? They say yes, or they say I could go at 4, and I say, well, okay, I could switch to 4. But instead of saying, well, would you like to go, and when should we go, and all that, you just start. And if they don't say yes, you go anyway. You go to the movies by yourself. And that's, I think, a very empowering thing to be able to do. So today, I whizzed through this program in 20 minutes that I thought would take a lot, or even 15. These are our takeaways. They're all on your sheet. And I think that if you tried one of them or you talked about it with one of your friends who's a solo, I think you might get some new inspiration. And I will share with you this picture. I took this picture. I was up in a hot air balloon in Cappadocia, Turkey. And I said to myself, this is amazing. So, but this has been with you amazing. So thank you. Thank you. Do we have any suggestions for a place to go that's solo-friendly in Ann Arbor, Michigan? Nominations? Ann Arbor District Library. Yay! One more? Yeah?
The seniors, I was just going to say, we have somebody here from the Ann Arbor Senior Center. Ipsy. Oh, you're seniors. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Ipsy Senior Center, and also I run a program called Why Is It the J? It's a congregate meal program. I think a lot of people are afraid to do senior centers. They think I'm not old, or that's not me, and I just encourage you to come because I have fun.
Great points, and I forgot, we got cut out that lecture series that you have, the Oli or Ollie. Yeah, did you have another suggestion? Yes, art museums are great. They always can use volunteers too, and it's not a big commitment usually. They're happy to have you work the gift shop or work the doors. That's what I do at our AKG twice a month, and everybody's friendly. 92 hours in and out. Goodbye. No big commitment. So, oh yeah, another idea.
In addition to Ollie, there's Elder-Wise, which is also classes that older people can join.
You had another suggestion?
Yeah, concerts here in
for U of M concerts at Phil Auditorium. Ushers, you can, volunteer to be an usher, and then you get to see the concert.
That is right. That's a great strategy. Yeah. I bet if you sat down with a group of your current friends and brainstormed for 5 minutes of new solo-friendly places to go or volunteer, you would come up with a bunch. And it's 2:02, so we're just on time.
I love it. All right. Dr. Sharon Kramer, everybody, love you so much. She came from Buffalo for us today. I want to thank Rebecca. Thank you always for all your support. I want to thank Pat Rencher here, who is Urban Aging News, and a lot of the voices you saw in the theater piece are Pat's, inspired by Pat. Interviewed Pat, Miss Rencher, several years ago, and we're still with her and Miss Helen Love. We love them as partners in Detroit. And I want to thank Gwen, and a lot of our friends that we've accumulated all across the years, and we have Hananiah passing stuff out. And we want to thank the Ann Arbor District Library. Thank you so much, Jacob. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, everybody. We're so grateful. And Sam Carter, thank you. All right, and wonderful. There's still resources out there. There's millage information. Let us know what questions you have. We have your emails. We're going to send some follow-up information as well if you didn't get something or you need some more questions. But we have some questions for you on what worked and what we could improve upon. So we're going to send out some stuff for you as well. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks, everyone. And take some extra food when you leave, right, Sam? Sam, right? Please take some sandwiches to go. Gwen's like, I'm not taking it, Dickie. Gwen's like, no way.